Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Denali Fund Accounting presentation. I am going to be recording this session, so if anybody has bad audio or maybe your video is not working quite right or you have to hop off early, just drop me an email at the end of it and I will make sure to get you a copy via Dropbox, or we'll probably post a link on the website as well. If you do have questions that come out throughout the process, please feel free to send me a chat message. I will answer those messages at the end of the webinar. This is going to take 30 to 45 minutes to go through the whole solution. And then at the end of that, I will address the questions that you might have. So that being said, my screen is up. What you're looking at is the main menu. We do have the ability to have multiple companies. So you can have as many different companies as you want. We do have a combination of both for-profit and nonprofit installed in my demo, but you can have all of one or a combination of both, or just multiple organizations that you might do billing for if you're an accounting firm. That being said, today's session is going to be specifically on the fund accounting. One of the things that we have built into the system is securities. Securities in the Denali fund accounting can be done by user or by group. Each of those users will have their own specific rights. In each module, you have the ability to turn on and off every function that you have access to. So each of the icons that you see on the main screen can be turned on and off by user, as well as every option on the overhead menus can be turned on and off by user. If they don't have access to a particular section of the software, the icons that you see on the screen will be dark. I have everything open for purposes of the demo so that I can give you a good look at everything that we offer. But just know that the security can be set up very, very detailed with multiple layers so that you can have different security levels by role. One of the other things that we have built into the software is a backup and restore. This is if you want to take a quick backup to maybe a removable drive or to your hard drive or maybe to a network drive. We also have an iVault backup program which does off-site backup so that you can maintain your data off-site in case of catastrophe. If you are already using something, we do work with various different backup programs as well. We have a fully customizable fiscal calendar built into the software. This fiscal calendar is 5 years in length. This also ties in with the budgeting tool so that you can do budgets and forecasts for up to 5 years at a time as well. We also have date blocking built in so that you cannot accidentally post into a period that has been closed or is in the process of being closed. Each of the fiscal calendar periods are customizable, so you can set your period end dates exactly where you want them to be. And you can also customize your fiscal year start date to whenever it begins as well. Now, the other thing that we have available in the main menu is the ability to set up custom options. The custom options come in very handy throughout the system for accessing other programs without having to exit your accounting system. So you can choose the module that you want to set up a custom menu for. In the custom menu, you can label it whatever you want. You give it a file or path name, or if it's a URL or a file, then you can just click that button and then you can publish it to make it available to everybody, or you can just leave it on your own system and nobody else will have access to it. The same is true of custom reports. You can set up custom reports for each and every module. There's a list of reports that are available for customization. You can modify them yourself, or we do have an in-house Crystal Report expert that can do custom reports for you as well. That being said, I'm going to jump into the general ledger. The general ledger is obviously the heart of the fund accounting solution. One of the things that you should know is that we have unlimited fund tracking, so you can have as many different funds as you want. For the purpose of this demo, I've set up 4 different funds. Each of those funds has different identifiers, as you can see here. They can be numbered, they can be alphanumeric. We also have the ability to track restricted and unrestricted funds, as well as due to, due from, so you can transfer from fund to fund. Each of these funds can have their own fiscal year start, so that when you run your reports for your grantors, you can run them on that calendar year. Now, the other nice thing about the Denali Fund Accounting is we also give you the ability to do customized identifier setup. So in my demo company, you'll notice I have my account number, I have my fund number, and then I'm tracking a program code underneath my funds as well. Now, there's no limit to the number of programs I can manage. I've chosen to have a 2-character program code to identify each of my programs, a 4-digit character for my fund, which is an alpha, and then my regular 4-digit account number. These can be any combination of numbers and letters, and you can identify exactly how long you want each of your segments to be. And I can also set up more user-defined identifiers as well. So if you were tracking locations or additional departments or divisions and you wanted that structured into your financial reporting, we could do that as well. Now, the financial reporting part ties into how you do your segment identifiers with the advanced filters. The advanced filters can be set up in advance so that you can set up filters by program. You can set up filters by program by fund, by division, or whatever identifiers you are using to manage your financials. Each time you run a report, these filters are going to be available so that you can get the specific report that you're looking for. So if I want to run a report, and I'll show you an example. I'm going to pull up my reports here real quick. If I want to run a balance sheet and I want to look at a specific fund, I can choose that specific fund. And then I can also use a filter for a specific program. And I can just choose that program from my list. Now, if I want to look at a specific program across all funds, I simply leave my fund blank and then I pick my program from my list. And then I can choose to break that down separate. So each fund will show me a report by that program separately or combined. Now, if I don't want to use the filter at all and I'm just looking for an organizational total, I can leave everything blank, run it combined, and that's going to be my organizational total. And again, any of these can be broken down by fund specifically, or you can run all funds at the same time separately, and it will just give you a unique report for each fund. Now, all of the reports that we have available in the system do interact with all the Microsoft Office products. So when you generate a report, you have the ability at that time to export it directly to Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Adobe, HTML, XML, or text. Now, these can also be, if you save them to Adobe Acrobat, obviously from there, you can email. I'm going to pause for 1 minute. It looks like a few people are having visual difficulties. Okay, so back to here. Here we go. Text file is just going to give you a simple text file. Microsoft Word, obviously, and you can make these editable or non-editable when you generate them. So it makes it very, very convenient if you need to do any emails, if you need to maybe just attach it to an email or modify it in any way before you send it off to whoever you need to send it off to. And that's available for all the reports. Some of the reports that we offer in the system are going to be Audit Trail. The Audit Trail is a very detailed look at what's been going on in the system. The Audit Trail does give you extreme detail from each module. So who did it, the posting, debits, credits, what account. If it came from another module other than the general ledger, it's going to give you the source module. This was an AP payment to Bank of Northwest. It gives you all the details of the transaction, including the check number. Same with accounts receivable deposits. You'll see the detail. It was a payment. Here's the batch number, who was responsible for that, the clerk. You can also set up additional securities on clerk codes, so I'll show you that as we go through too. Some of the other reports that we offer in the general ledger are going to be budgeting reports. We also do standard budget reports, but this is a budget revenue and expense variance report. You'll see that you can compare current to year to date or any group of periods to any group of periods. You can choose those when you generate the report. You'll notice on the left we have the current. It gives you the breakdown of actual, budget, variance, and percentage left. And we also have the description in the middle for easy reading. Some of the other reports that we offer in the system are going to be your statement of activities, which also gives you the breakdown of unrestricted, temporarily restricted, and permanently restricted funds. And then, of course, your totals at the right. And statement of cash flows. Also, statement of financial position, which is, again, going to give you the breakdowns of unrestricted, temporarily restricted, and permanently restricted. All of these reports are done with Crystal reports, so they can be modified. So if you want to change the fonts or the format in any way, you can certainly do that. The account groups you determine on the actual account setup. You can also have user-definable account groups, so you're not tied to the groups that we have built in. We do have some predetermined ones, but you can certainly set up your own. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the reports here. And those are just a few of the reports we offer. In the general ledger, we probably have about 200 different reports. If you drill into each of them, you'll get various options, as well as the ability to break those down by your funds and programs. Now back to the main account setup. When you're setting up your accounts, as I mentioned, you have the ability to define your report groups. You'll see here I have my general report groups, and we have some predefined lists here. And then you have the ability to set up a whole user-defined group, and you can set up as many as you want, and you can put your accounts wherever you want for reporting purposes. Now, each account in the general ledger does maintain a detailed history until you determine you want to purge it, so it's going to stay there until you get rid of it. And then we also maintain period totals for all of your open periods in the fiscal calendar. You can also, in either of these, drill into that amount, and it will show you the details related to it. On the budget tab, if you have a budget associated with an account, you'll have a budget code here, and it will fill in the amounts automatically. There's also, I'm going to go ahead and find an account with a budget real quick. You'll see I have a budget code associated with this account. So now I'm going to have a budget history. The budget history is an audit trail of each time the budget was modified or changed. So the actual budget code was changed. Moving into a new fiscal year or maybe a new fund year, you're going to change those budgets that go along with it. So it maintains who actually made the change and then who applied the change to the account. So you can always go back and see when that happened and who was responsible for it. This is a way to prevent accidentally updating a budget twice or overwriting something that maybe you didn't want to overwrite. And this is going to bring a report right up to your screen. And I think it's going to pop it up on my other screen. There we go. And you'll see here this budget, the original date of attachment, and each time it was modified is tracked in the system. Also, on the main GL account tab, we have the ability to track any notes, and this is going to be unlimited, as well as the ability to timestamp and search. And you can also attach documents directly to the general ledger account. You can attach them to your local drive and not publish them, and they will remain private, or you can attach them globally so that everybody who has access to the general ledger will be able to see them. And there's not a limit to the number of files that you can attach throughout the system. Journal entry process, very, very simple. Obviously, anything you do elsewhere in the system, from accounts payable, accounts receivable, bank rec, that's going to come over automatically to the general ledger. But this is if you need to make journal entries, maybe reversing entries or do fund-to-fund transfers, things like that. You can come in and make journal entries. Super simple entry screen. You can look up the account number. You can enter the account number. Debit, credit by default. You can hit C or D to change it. You simply type in your amount. We also manage encumbrances. So if you do need to encumber or commit money for future use, we can handle that both through purchasing and general ledger. And then, of course, you make your reversing entry. Down at the bottom, it's going to keep track of your debits and credits and encumbrances. If you do get out of balance for any reason, it's going to alert you. It will not allow you to post out of balance unless you absolutely are trying to do it, in which case you have to go in and set the securities to do so and then say, yes, that's really what I want to do. So other than that, there's no way to just automatically post out of balance. After you've entered your activities or do froms or processed allocations, it's always going to make you verify your activities. The verification process allows it to give you the one last look, make sure everything's in balance, then it will go post to your audit trail. We do have a secure audit trail, so once it's in the audit trail, it can't just be pulled out, so you don't have to worry about transactions disappearing like you do in some of the off-the-shelf products. It's very secure. always notated to a user. If you do a transaction that needs to be backed out, you just do the reversal. So the entry will show originally, the reversal will show, and the correction and why it was needed. Now, on the line of allocations, we do allocations both in general ledger and in accounts payable. The general ledger allocations are really simple. You can attach a frequency code to them. So if you need them to process monthly, we attach a monthly frequency code. If it's weekly or quarterly, whatever the case may be, we can set up frequency codes for those. We can allocate by dollar or percentage. If there's a full dollar amount, you can attach the percentage. It will automatically do that percentage allocation when you process allocation. We do maintain a history. So every time an allocation was processed, you'll see here it maintains that history and who it was processed by. That way you can't accidentally process it twice. And we make you go through that same verification process afterward so that nothing gets posted accidentally. Now we also have the ability to do recurring activities. This works just like a regular journal entry, only if you mark it as recurring, you can attach a frequency code to it and generate those weekly, monthly, quarterly, or however often you need to. And then you also go through that same verification and posting process. Now the budgeting tool is up next. This does work directly with those filters I showed you earlier. So if you need to do a budget by fund, if you need to do a budget by program, you can pick the exact account groups that you want to budget for. Each of these can have their own code, and they are just going to maintain a forecast status until you actually save and attach them to your accounts. So this allows you to forecast for all 5 years of your fiscal calendar. You can do annual budgets. You can also do by-period budgets. Now, the nice thing about the budgeting tool is that you can transfer, you can copy, you can do all kinds of things using this tool just by using the right-click menus. You can also sort by dragging and dropping columns. You can do automatic clears. You can transfer, as you can see, estimates to budgets, actuals to estimates, or take last year's actuals and transfer them to this year's budgets. You can also hide or show any particular columns that you want to see. The tool itself is very interactive with Excel. A lot of folks are familiar with Excel and doing their budgets in Excel. So you can set up your filters to pull the exact accounts you want, and then you just simply export them out to Excel. And then when you're done, import them back in. This allows you to do things that you're probably familiar with, like formulas and anything you want to do with your budget, and then you can import it back in. And once we do that, we can simply save our budget code, or we can save and attach it and make it part of our permanent budget. Now, some of the workflow things that you're looking at on the screen, we have import journal activities. If you are using a third-party provider for things like payroll or donor management, you can actually import journal activities from those sources using our universal bridge. There's a little bit of formatting that needs to be done, but then you can just import those. It creates the journal entries, and then you just verify and post them. So you don't have to go through that process twice. We do have two processes in place for year-end. We have our fund year close, and then we have our year-end close. That rolls everything over. So year-end processing is pretty straightforward. If your fund year closes before your year, it will have to be closed first. Standard accounting rules apply. Now, we also have some other options throughout the system that I'll cover real quick before I leave the general ledger. Each module, you have print options in. You can assign default printers for default tasks. So in modules where you're printing checks, you can assign a default printer for check printing, a default printer for posting, and a default printer for reports, so that you don't have to set that up each time you go in. Now, we do give you the option to change that each time you do have to print something. So all those are optional. Next, I'm going to show you the bank reconciliation. It's a very straightforward module. It does integrate directly with the general ledger, so anything that flows through bank rec will also update the GL automatically. You can have as many bank accounts as you want. There is absolutely no limit. The bank account setup is fairly straightforward. You have your default accounts associated with it. Also your default contact information, your financial status with the account at a glance. Also your general default reconciliation methods, and notes and attachments. The notes and attachments, again, are going to be another one of those system-wide features where you're going to find everywhere in the system. Now, anywhere you are in the bank rec, we do have access to the bank register. So you can take a look at that anytime. You can look at outstanding, cleared, voided, pick a source module, and look at those transactions. The activity entry is very, very straightforward. Pick your bank account, pick what type of activity you would like to do, enter the information, and you're done. Now, again, anything coming over from accounts payable, you would not have to do this for. It would just be there. The void activity works very much the same way. Once you pick your bank account, you can choose the item that you want to void, and it's only going to bring you the items that are available to be voided. Pick the item you would like to void, and then you can choose the date you want to void it on. So if you wrote a check earlier this month, you want the date to reflect the original date of the check, you could do that, or even a previous period if it was open. And then, or you can have it void on the actual date that you're going to void it. So that's up to you. We also do deposit slips, as well as the ability to print checks right from bank rec. And this is going to be for anybody you don't want to set up a vendor account for, but maybe you'd like to just do a one-off check. You can do that through bank rec without having to go through the whole process of setting up a vendor. And then the same applies with the posting here. You get to preview before you actually post. The reconciliation process is very straightforward. You can see here I've started a reconciliation already. On my rec screen, you'll notice over to the right I have my cleared check marks. All I do is check mark them as I go. I've been reconciling as I go throughout the month, so I can just simply keep going. It remembers where you left off. If I want to start over, I can simply unclear everything and start over. If I want to clear everything and then just uncheck the ones that aren't cleared, I can also do that. And again, I have the ability to sort this any way I want. It's set to my default, which is date, but I can choose from many other sort methods as well. And then, of course, after you've reconciled, you can go run your reports. You can attach those directly to your bank account, so you can save those on a monthly basis as well, along with your bank statement, so that those are always at your fingertips, if you will. Now, on the reporting side, in bank rec, we have the bank reconciliation report, of course. The bank register report is a good tool if you're looking for something. This allows you to search for transactions that have cleared, been voided, still outstanding, by source module, by date range, and also by payee. So you have a lot of options on search in your register report. We also have a payee card listing, so anybody you have written a check for and set up a payee, it will show up on this report, as well as a missing check report. And this is just going to give you a list of any checks missing in a range. If there's a whole range, it tends to bold them and make you alerted to the fact that there might be a lot of checks missing. Next, I'm going to jump into the Accounts Payable module. The Accounts Payable module does integrate with the bank reconciliation all the way through to the general ledger. If you do have inventory or sales add-ons, it does integrate there as well. The Accounts Payable module does have the ability to do the recurring transactions, just like it does other places in the system. We do have the ability to do payments a couple of different ways in Accounts Payable. So when you're entering your bills, you can pay them immediately, and you can do that by electronic transaction, by credit card, or printing an immediate check. So I select the vendor that I'm going to pay, and then I simply tell it how am I going to pay it, whether it's a print check, credit card. If they're set up for electronic, that would be activated as well. Since it's an immediate payment, everything is going to be dated today, and I put in my information down here. Now I can also, as I mentioned, do allocations directly from the accounts payable. So if this were an allocated transaction, I would pick the allocation, choose my allocation code, and it would give me the breakdowns automatically. So as soon as I put in the amount of the payment, it does those divisions for me based on what I have set up on my allocation code. You'll notice it also defaults my bank account based on what I have set up on that vendor. This can be changed at the time of entry. So it's very, very flexible in the way that you enter the transactions. You can also, on anything that's not immediate, change the invoice date, the general ledger date, or the due date and discount date. All of those by default will come up. They can be changed when you do your entry as well. Now, if we're not doing an immediate payment, it's going to go into our hopper for payment later, and then we can come and generate those transactions automatically. Based on the criteria that we enter, it will go out and find those payments for us. I think I've already generated them today. So we'll go find the payment that it generated. Now at this time, I can also change my bank code. I can also add additional payments. So if I owed this vendor another bill that I knew was coming due, I could also add that at the time of payment. And I would simply do that by coming down here and looking to see if there was anything else, or I already know there's something else. Then I just select it from the list and add it. I can also take discounts at the time of payment. So between the time I entered the bill and now that I'm paying it, the vendor has given me some type of discount. I can apply that discount at the time of payment, and it will also go and update the originating transaction so that everything stays in balance. Once I've entered all my bills, then I do my verification and I print vendor checks. You can print checks on plain check stock or pre-printed check stock. It's completely up to you. And then, of course, once I post, it goes and updates all the other modules. Now, some of the things on the vendor setup part, where your actual list of vendors resides, that's where you're going to set up your defaults. For due date calculation, my expense defaults, again, these can all be changed at the time of entry. I also can track 1099 vendors, and each vendor that is 1099able, it will alert you to the fact that they are when you're doing the bill pay, so you can select a category. It doesn't have to apply to the 1099, but you just tell it it's a non-1099 payment. We also track your contact information for your vendor. If they have a separate remit to, we can choose to use that when we do our checks. We also keep track of a full vendor aging as well as history. The history can be sorted simply by clicking on any of these columns, and then I can do a contain search. So if I'm looking for a specific amount, I can simply type in the amount and search, and it will take me directly to that amount. And again, the notes and attachments. One of the things that the rest of the system has that you didn't see in the other two modules is also the ability to do user-definable fields. This allows you to set up different tracking mechanisms, also available for reporting purposes. So you can use these for report sorts or categories, or you can just use them to track any information you want. If you want to know when your vendor's birthday is, you can set up a field to track your vendor's birthday. And all of those are also available on the printed version of the reports. On the reporting side in accounts payable, we do have the quick vendor list, a complete vendor list, aging, several varieties of the aging report, cash requirements report, the history report, of course, and there's a ton of different sort options here. And you'll notice total debt report. If you do anything with prepaids and futures, we also track those. And then, of course, the 1099. But the favored report in the AP is going to be the GL expense distribution. You'll see you get to use your filters here too. So if you need an expense distribution by fund or program, you can get that right out of the system. That being said, I'm going to jump next into the payroll. The payroll is directly integrated to all of the correlated modules, which is going to be the accounts payable, the bank rec, and the general ledger. One of the things I'll show you in the options, there's a ton of codes that you can set up within. But one of the nice things is we can track everything by department or program. And in that, you can track all of your expenses separately or combined. So we can have separate expense accounts for our taxes, our wages, and our benefits. And on the wages side, we can break it down for every type of wage that we offer as well. The same is true of the benefits and deductions. So if you're offering insurance, if you're offering any of those things, everything can be allocated across all the programs automatically by their hours. Even if they're salary, you can put in their default hours and it will do the allocations accordingly. And then each of the codes can be customized as well for when they're to be applied. And they can be fixed amount, they can be percentage remaining, you can set maximums as far as garnishments and all of that go. So that's some of the back-end setup stuff, which if you do get on Cougar Mountain Denali, that will all be covered in training in detail so that you know what you're doing. On the main employee screen is where the heart of everything kind of resides. When we get our employee record, All of their typical information you'd expect to see is going to be there for contact and all of that. But you'll notice we also manage a year-to-date summary. For those of you who had previous experience with our professional product, this would be just the current year. We actually can have unlimited years of history in the Denali software. So once you get on it, it'll keep that history in there until you get rid of it. We have unlimited pay rates and taxes, so we are capable of doing multi-state payroll, as well as unlimited pay rates. And those are associated specifically to a program or department. So again, any of those allocations that need to happen will happen automatically. Also, unlimited benefits and deductions. So we do retirement accounts, we do, health insurance, health deductions. All of that integrates to the AP. So all of that is going to be updated automatically. There's nothing else you need to do. Unlimited leave codes, and these are customizable by the user or by the employee. So the accrual rates can vary based on the employee and how long they've been there. And then it does also have maximum limits that you can set. So they can't accrue more than 80 hours. Direct deposit, also unlimited for disbursements. So when an employee comes to you, they say, hey, I want 80% in checking, 20% in savings. You can set that up to happen automatically with their direct deposit. Direct deposit is entirely free on our end, so the only fees you will be charged is from your bank or processor if you have one. Notes, again, attachments, and unlimited user-defined fields. This can be used to set up almost like an HR database, if you will, because you can set up as many fields as you want. If you want to track dependent information, if you want to track family information, or certification dates, renewal dates, anything like that, you can set up a field for and track that with your employee. Now, the actual payroll process, very, very simple. I'm entering a payroll. I'm just going to start a brand new one here from start to finish, and you'll see how simple it is. I click Add to my grid. It pulls in all of my employees automatically. You'll notice I have default units set up on each of my employees. All I have to do is quickly review the units. If they're incorrect or if I don't have default set, I can simply come in and modify that, and then I click Done. It automatically recalculates my deductions, my taxes, and my net pay. Once I've verified that everybody looks right, then I go to my next step. I just click Next, and it's going to take me into my Edit Report. That's going to review everything that I've done in my payroll. The next step is going to be printing my checks or generating my direct deposit stubs, or both. Once I'm done with that, then I can do my check register, and then I run my pre-posting reports. And you can choose exactly which reports you want. So if you have no garnishments, you don't have to print the garnishment report. If you have no tips, you don't have to print the tips report. So we pick and choose exactly which reports we want. These give us the very, very exact breakdowns of all the benefits, also the GL postings, so you know exactly which accounts they're hitting, the whole 9 yards. And next we can do our electronic payroll report, and then our direct deposit file. This is actually going to generate the file that you're going to upload to your bank. And then we're ready to post our payroll, and we're done. This is going to give us a complete posting report so you can see all the detail of the posting as well. At any time, if I want to go back and rerun any of those reports, you can see they're all available on the main screen as well as on the reporting menu. One of the other things we offer in payroll, of course, is tax updates. So your tax tables get updated. We also have tax reports. The tax reports are going to give you not only federal for obviously the new 1094, 1095, but your quarterlies, your W-2s, all of that. But in each state, we also offer various reports. So if your state has quarterlies, chances are we have them. If they have other reports like the new hire report or whatever, chances are we've got them in here. And if not, you can request them to be added, and they typically do. So next, I'm going to jump into purchase order. We are running a little short on time, so I apologize if this is going pretty quick. But on the purchase order function, real quick, I want to show you, you can actually modify your screens in this module, which makes it kind of nice. We also have unlimited user-definable fields so that you can add as many fields to the purchase order as you want, or you can take some away. If you don't like the layout, you just change it. It does have additional buyer security too, so one person can enter, another person can approve. All those approval processes can be put into play. It does tie into AP directly, so we can look directly at our vendors. One of the nice things from the PO screen is you can see their full history, your purchase history with that vendor. You can re-enter a direct expense or an item that you've purchased from that vendor. And you can see your financial status with that vendor right from the purchasing screen. Now, again, these are all options, so they can be turned on or off. Entering a PO is also very straightforward. And again, you can choose exactly what fields you want to see. And then you'll see I have encumbrance activated, so I can choose to do that as well. And I can print the PO from here and email it. I can print it and print a copy and fax it or mail it, or I can just save it and run them all at the end of the day. So it's completely up to you. And then once they've been approved, of course, we have that receiving process that's going to send it over to accounts payable. At any time, you can go view all your open purchase orders, monitor vendor performance, and this is where you'd actually tailor your layout. You can also, anywhere in the system, change your session date. So if you're doing entries from last week, or maybe you need to make entries for next week because you're going on vacation, all of that can be done as well. And then real quickly, we also have the ability for those of you who deal with invoicing for services or anything like that. We have the invoicing module, so you can actually do service billing or item billing. And again, you have full access to client history right here. You can also access the client information screen from here too, and actually view their full profile. So we can manage the client invoicing process even in the nonprofit version. We also have full inventory management available. And if you are a nonprofit who receives private donations or even corporate donations, we do have a donor management module as well, where you can track different donors, additional contact information related to them, all their donations. We also have the ability to do receipts and pledge tracking. We also can keep track of your donor groups as well as donor giving levels. So all of that can be managed in there, as well as correspondence and contacts and all of that. So it manages that whole process. This also allows you to select a specific campaign. So if I'm adding a donation, here's my accounting link over here. I can actually pick exactly where it's going to go in my accounting system and what it's for. So it knows exactly which fund or program or grant to attach that to. All right, that's about it for the fund accounting presentation. I'm going to open it up for questions if you guys want to send those to me in a chat, and then I'll just respond to them. I'll read them out loud and respond to them so we don't have a massive conversation going on where nobody understands each other. Anybody? Okay, it looks like I got a question about drill down. Most of the reports, and especially in the financial dashboards, which we didn't have time to cover today, there is drill down capabilities up to 4 levels. Also, on any detail account, like in the financials where you're looking at the actual account, if you double click on that, it drills into not only that entry, but the entries that are associated with it as well. Any other questions? Looks like somebody asked too if you can attach documents to other transactions, such as AP and AR. All master records in the system have the ability to do attachments. It's a little tab that you'll see everywhere, and you can just click that, attach the document. We don't have the document management part, so you would have to have a scanner program, but then it would allow you to attach that. And there was also a question about journal entries versus hand entering them. Can they be imported? And definitely they can. In the general ledger part, we have a little function called import journal activity. This does tie in with a product that we call Universal Bridge. The Universal Bridge is a format that can be done very simply with Excel, and then you just import those in. So if you have journal entries coming in from a payroll provider, well, and actually a lot of the payroll providers we already have formats with, so that probably isn't a good example, but for any reason, you can import those in. And there was also a question about monthly budgets, and monthly budgets can be done. You can do in the budgeting tool by period. We allow you to do the by period budget or the annual budget, so you have your choice. The import process, when you're importing journal entries, more or less, it's just a select button. So you pick that button. Oops, I have to clear my batch real quick. I've got some entries in there. So what it's going to do when I click that is it's going to say, okay, where's your file at? And you're just going to go pick the file that you want to import, wherever it is, and then it creates the journal entries. Now, once the journal entries are created, it acts just like it would if you had hand entered them in the system. So we can then just come into the journal entry, find the entry, and fix it, or change it, or edit it just like a normal entry. And I can actually email you the format if you want, Isabella. Isabella also asked, will the system create a NACHA file, or do we need to use an ACH processor that you are affiliated with? If you are referring to payroll, we do create the NACHA file. That NACHA file can be submitted directly to your bank, or if you're using a processor, then you can go through a processor as well. Greg asked if you can enter 10 dash dash, looks like dash question mark 541 in the default GL expense as you can in Pro. So you'll only edit the middle two digits of the GL expense code when entering payables. And the answer is yes, that has not changed. Right now, it looks like Isabella asked if we can attach documents to actual transactions. And no, we cannot. We have to attach them to the master record. That is a function we are looking at adding, but right now we do not have it. And Greg asked, how can you run a statement of revenue and expenses that groups by the last three digits of a GL account setup using three segments as follows? Segment 1 with 2 characters set up as 10, fund, segment 2 set up as location, 12, store 12, and segment 3 set up as 540 training. The filters, I'll have to show you that in an email, Greg, because that's a little more detailed than I have set up on my system. But yeah, I can show you how to do that. And we also have advanced filters that you, or advanced report groups that you can use too. We have, looks like Isabella asked if we have approval routing processes built in. And we do have flow processes built in. Does it actually send like the email alert and say, hey, I've entered this, please approve it? It doesn't do that part of it. But yes, the processes can be set in play so that they're not going to get done until they've been approved. And yes, Isabella, you asked again, do POs feed into creation of vendor invoices? And yes, they do. When you've entered your initial purchase order, there's a receiving process that allows you to send that over to accounts payable, even if it's not related to an item. Basically, you're just invoicing it. So you'll pick invoice only. It will go and update the vendor record automatically based on, you know, their default criteria for payment. And it looks like someone asked too if there was an encumbrance function that feeds into purchasing and the journal. And yes, you can actually do encumbrances through the journal entry screen itself. That was something I covered right in the very beginning. You'll see you can choose to encumber any journal entry, also available in purchase order. So if you want to encumber it through a PO, you can as well. Someone also asked if the donor entries will feed through to the accounting system, and yes, those entries will process right into the accounting system through the same import process. Only difference is that the Donor Express is already set up, so it exactly matches our format, so there's no formatting that needs to be done. Someone asked if all modules seen come with software, and that really depends on what package you're purchasing. I will tell you that the Donor Express part is always an add-on, but our Denali Summit package comes with everything. The Denali Ascent package comes with the General Ledger, the Accounts Payable, and the Bank Rec, and then the Base Camp is just the General Ledger and Bank Rec. And Greg, you asked me a big, huge, long question that I will get back to you on. Chantel asked if they run payroll on the 5th for the prior period, can it accrue the expense in the proper period without adjusting entries? And the answer is yes, it can. Hang on, everybody. I'm trying to get to everybody. Looks like Stephen asked if you can customize reports by reordering accounts and creating subtotals that are out of standard account numbering system. Yes, we can. That's what the advanced report groups are for. Something I didn't get into that much detail about, but you'll see here with the advanced report groups, we can actually pick and choose accounts from any range. So if I want to put a 3,000 account and a 1,000 account together in an account group, I can set those up and they can be part of my standard reporting process. And it looks like, Clement, you had a question. Is there a way to turn off summary integration in BankRec? Are you talking from other modules or from the BankRec itself? So I can go into my module preferences here, and on my integration tab, I have the ability to do detail, condensed, or summary, or I can do report-only integration. So the answer is yes, I can turn that off in BankRec. Other modules, almost every module has those same levels of integration, so you can choose how you want that to integrate, or not at all. You can turn the integration completely off. George, CMS to the max, you asked if job cost integrates to fund, and the answer is no, it still does not. Hang on, everybody. Sorry, some of you had to send your questions twice. For some reason, they didn't come up. Someone else asked a question if you can run the software from any device. Any device, probably not. However, if you have our cloud option, almost any mobile device will work. So you can connect with a tablet or a Mac or whatever you want to because it goes through a browser. I will say that there is no app for any type of Android app or anything like that. So it can't get that small. It will at least have to be tablet sized in order to be legible. Just trying to get through the list of questions here, everybody. Isabella, you said you were referring to the ACH vendor payments. That is your ACH format. Most banks accept we have like 4 or 5 different formats. Most banks do accept those. I also have a few providers that do NACHA formats for that too. There's a fee related to that. And then Greg followed it up with, can you upload a NACHA file from AP Electronic Payments directly? Like I said, I have a partner that has that available. There's an additional fee associated with that, but I can definitely get you that information. And Greg, you asked a question about using both sides of the paper. I'm not 100% positive on that one, so I'll have to get back to you on that. Stephen asked if this was a desktop product or a cloud option, and there is both. The software is the same either way. We do a private cloud through Ascend Technologies where you just pay a monthly fee, and you can access it, like I said, from any mobile device. We also have another partner that we use for cloud services called Appliance Technologies, where you can actually own your own cloud server. Someone asked about user groups. We really don't have user groups out there. However, Customer Service Center, we have created a user blog, and there's also an FAQ, and quite a few people are active on the Service Center. So that's a good start. Someone asked about automatic bank reconciliations. If you mean, can you import directly from your bank and have everything auto-clear? No, we don't do that. However, the way that our bank rec is designed, everything that you're doing in the system is already there. So it's just a matter of clicking that box, clicking that box, clicking that box. And we do credit card reconciliation as well as regular bank account reconciliation. And Greg, I will make sure you get the link to the user blog. Looks like that's it for the questions, and it looks like we are just about out of time. If you do have additional questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with your sales representative, or you can just call the sales line at 1-800-388-3038. I'm at extension 133 if you'd like to talk to me directly, or you can certainly feel free to email. All right, thanks everybody.